We're going to be talking about monohybrid crosses. Monohybrid cross, if we start with the P1 generation, which is the parent generation, and we have a look at one of Mendel's traits that he had a look at with his pea plants. We'll use seed shape, and we'll use that throughout the monohybrid crosses. The alleles we're going to be looking at are round seeds or wrinkled seeds. Round is dominant and wrinkled is recessive. So the cross will be round seeds with wrinkled seeds, and the genotype will look like this. Homozygous round, and that's dominant, and homozygous wrinkled, and that's recessive. So to do a cross, we lay out each of the alleles as follows. And then we have a look at crossing these individuals. So the first offspring will be heterozygous round, second offspring will be heterozygous round, third heterozygous round, and fourth heterozygous round. So what do we have? Well, our genotype is obviously heterozygous round, which is dominant. The phenotype, all of the offspring, so 100% round. The genotypic ratio, they're all the same. The phenotypic ratio, they're obviously all the same. Right, so let's review our first monohybrid cross. If we take a homozygous dominant and a homozygous recessive allele, and we cross them, the offspring are all heterozygous, or all hybrids. Okay? The offspring of these crosses, or such a cross, are known as the F1 generation. And when we cross these dominants and recessives, we get phenotypic and genotypic ratios that are all the same. So, now let's keep seed shape and take the same alleles, round and wrinkled. In the F1 generation, we're still going to have round versus round seeds this time, and they're going to be the two heterozygous F1 individuals. We have a look, it looks like this: dominant R, recessive R, dominant, recessive, and when we cross two heterozygous round seeds, remember round is dominant to wrinkled, this is what we get. The old classic genotype: big R, big R, big R, small r, small r, small r. And the phenotype, we've got a mixture now. They're not all the same. We've got round and wrinkled. Genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. Okay, there's the 2. So 1 refers to the one homozygous dominant, the two heterozygous round seeds, and the one homozygous wrinkled individual. The phenotypic ratio is the classic 75-25%, 3:1. So let's review the F1 first generation heterozygous cross. Remember that if we cross two heterozygous individuals with each other, our offspring are as follows. 25% will be homozygous dominant, 50% will be heterozygous, 25% will be homozygous recessive. That's the 1:2:1 ratio that you saw on the previous slide. The offspring, so these offspring, are then known as the F2 generation. As I've just said, the genotypic ratio is 1:2:1, and the phenotypic ratio, so what they look like, whether they're round or wrinkled, is 3:1, or 75-25%. So, what do these peas look like in real life? Well, here's a diagram showing you that when you open up a pea pod, you'll see that some of the peas are round and others are wrinkled. So, let's move on to the test cross. When Mendel crossed a pure version, so homozygous, with the hybrid from his F2 generation, he called this a test cross. So it's known as a test cross when you cross individuals from the F2 generation. And there are two possible test crosses that you can do. One is for a homozygous dominant with a hybrid. The other is a homozygous recessive with a hybrid. All pretty easy. Okay. Let's take the F2 monohybrid cross, the first one. Still using seed shape as our allele, where we have round and wrinkled, round seeds with round seeds, okay? But we're taking a homozygous dominant and a heterozygous individual. And this is what the cross will look like. You can work that out, having a look at what you're going to get. Our genotype is either going to be homozygous dominant or heterozygous. The phenotype, all of them will have round seeds. So our genotypic ratio is 1:1, and our phenotypic ratio is all the same, or all alike. Right, so now we take the monohybrid cross, the second type of monohybrid cross that we can have. So again, still seed shape, round versus wrinkled alleles again. But here we're going to have wrinkled seeds versus round seeds. So in order to have wrinkled seeds, we've got to be, yes, homozygous recessive. And the round seeds here, remember it's with a hybrid, so it's going to be a heterozygous individual. Laying that out in our classical Punnett square, this is what we get. Now here, you can already start to see what you're going to get. The genotypic ratio, or the genotype, is going to be heterozygous and homozygous recessive, two small r's. The genotype can either be round or wrinkled, but the important thing here is that the genotypic ratio and the phenotypic ratio are the same, 50-50, 1:1. So let's review our F2 monohybrid cross. And when we are dealing with, remember, when we're dealing with these sorts of crosses, they can either be homozygous and heterozygous, recessive to heterozygous individuals. The offspring, 50% homozygous, 50% heterozygous. That's important. The phenotypic ratio is 1:1, and it's called a test cross because the offspring all have the same genotype as the parents. So they may not look the same, but they have the same genotype as the parents. So, what I'd like you to do now after this lecture is to go and practice your monohybrid crosses for both the parent, so P1, offspring, F1 and F2 generations, and cross them for each of the other 7 pea plant traits, which we discussed in our previous lectures. You should do this because if you practice your traits, you'll be able to do these in practical exams and also theory exams and tests. Remember, it's quite a detailed table which you can find on the faculty folder to run through. I hope you found this interesting, and we will talk again soon.